You're watching Toronto Sports Rush on the Bet Rivers Network.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Toronto Sports Rush, part of the Bet Rivers Network. I'm Sara Civian and I'm joined by channel contributor, NHL analyst, and host, Hradek. EJ. The Leafs have dropped their last two games, and just like that, the Panthers have tied the series as we await Game 5. Auston Matthews is still searching for a goal this series and his first ever playoff goal against Florida at all. I'll start by jumping right into the question of the hour. Okay. Would you separate Matthews and Marner?
Well, I think that I would juggle a little bit, kind of change things up, with the idea that I could go back to them. I mean, that's the thing. You can go back to these combinations at any moment. You might just start the game with one thing and then immediately go back. So, you've lost two games in a row. I think a little change doesn't hurt to try to adjust things, to try to throw a curve at the other team a little bit, because they're certainly expecting what you've been doing. So, but I mean, the Leafs lineup is kind of the Leafs lineup right now. I don't know, what other kind of major moves they could make, but yeah, if I was Craig Berube, I would certainly consider that. I'm sure they've done that during the season before, and I would consider it now.
Are you worried about Matthews, or do you feel like it's a situation where he's doing everything but scoring?
Well, I do wonder about, where he's at health-wise. I mean, he looks fine. He's playing under the puck well. He's in the battles. I mean, there's a lot of things that I like about Auston Matthews' game right now. But, because I've been around for a long time, Sarah, I remember things that went on years ago. And I could remember, when Alexander Mogilny was with the Devils during a Stanley Cup run one year. Alexander Mogilny was the kind of guy that, for better or worse, you get judged when you're a goal scorer and an offensive player on how much you're producing. And he wasn't producing a ton of offense in that particular year for the Devils, but they were winning anyway. And they ended up, finding a way to win, and it was all good. In this case, the Leafs are not that far along, and Matthews is their number one really offensive player and the leader of their team. So, I think at some point in time, the players who are of his ilk, they have to contribute in terms of scoring goals and producing offense. And so it is worrisome that it's not happening to this point. And if they're going to win this series, the final 2 out of 3, I would imagine it's going to have to happen. I mean, you look in Edmonton, when they need big goals, McDavid and Draisaitl are there for them. And you go through the league's history and you go through these big moments with players, again, of that ilk, of Matthews' level. Those teams don't usually win when those players are not contributing offensively. So I guess when you ask me if I'm worried, I guess I'm a little worried, but I don't know where he is health-wise, if he's got issues with the wrists or hands or where he's at in that regard. But it is a concern that, they need him to score.
Yeah, and on top of that, you got a third line, or the Lorentz line, whatever you want to call it, that hasn't scored a single goal through 10 playoff games. So one of those things has to happen.
Yeah, I mean, it's nice to get contributions from everybody in the lineup, right? I mean, I think Paul Maurice talked about this scenario of your goalie has to win one game, your stars have to win one game, your role players have to win a game. So along those lines, you need contributions from everybody. So, we'll see where they're at in Game 5. I mean, they have an extra day off between games. I mean, these were close, tight games, Sarah, that they lost. And, I think they've just got to get back in the tape room, and especially the, key players. I mean, in Game 3, Mitch Marner made a couple of mistakes, situational awareness in these type of games. I mean, Spencer Carberry, the coach of the Capitals, talked about it in the Capitals' struggles with the Hurricanes, that just in these games, and we're down to the bottom 8 or the top 8, and the Florida Panthers are the defending champions. They know how to win, and they're it's like watching a baseline tennis match where somebody just keeps hitting the ball over the net over and over and over, and it can be frustrating for the Leafs in moments to kind of crack a little bit. You do something you shouldn't do. Marner was in good position in Game 3 when the score was tied 3-2 in the defensive zone. The Leafs didn't have possession at the blue line. He blew the zone. It led to a 2-on-1 and a goal the other way. In Game 4, it's 1-0. It's a one-shot game. Nylander's got the puck with about 10 minutes left in the game in the neutral zone. He's circling. There's no play. There's no play there. You have to dump the puck in there. That's what the Florida Panthers are stacked at the blue line. He decides to make a play through to Tavares. They lose the puck. Bennett goes down and scores. Now it's 2-0, and the game is effectively over. So, those are the things I think the Leafs really have to focus on in game number 5. The Florida Panthers are the champs for a reason. They know how to win. They are going to make it hard for you. They defend really hard. You have to only take what they give you. If there's no play there, move the puck in, make them go 200 feet. Don't let them counterattack as they did in situations in both games 3 and game 4.
Yeah, it kind of feels like these Panthers just take over a series game by game. And it feels like in game 4, maybe they unlocked the shot suppression, where it's like that's the fewest shots the Leafs had taken the entire playoffs. And you said at the beginning of the series that you weren't expecting the Leafs to pull off a series win over the Panthers, but it's less about the Leafs and more about the Panthers looking unstoppable. Do you think that's maybe where we're at right now?
Well, again, they know how to do it. And they won last year, and they're every bit as good a team this year. And so they're going to be hard to beat. But here we are, right, Sarah? I mean, at the start of the series, I didn't necessarily think it was going to be 2-0 Toronto at the start. They were one shot away from winning game 3. I mean, they were in overtime. And again, if they had just played a little better situational hockey in game 3, they might have been able to win that game. And this is without the guy they've started in goal at the start of these playoffs, Anthony Stolarz, who basically has not played very much in the series after getting hurt in game 1. So, I think we're just down to 2 out of 3 now. The extra day off, I think, will be good for the Leafs. Again, I think in that room, I would feel like, hey, we can beat these guys. We can play with these guys. Now, obviously, we talked about Matthews. They need a goal from Matthews somewhere in here. And they just need to be better in those situations, because these are not going to be, listen, anything can happen, Sarah, right? It could be 6-0 tonight. How do we really know? Or tomorrow night. Anything could happen. But we're going to figure these games, like most playoff games, are going to be tight. So the Toronto Maple Leafs are going to have to show that same kind of mental toughness in moments in that game that the Florida Panthers have displayed now for the last couple of years. If they can do that and be better in those situations, we're 2 out of 3 now. Mm-hmm. So they've brought it here. I think the Leafs should have a lot to be proud of in the way that they have moved forward this year. But still some critical mistakes at the wrong time have cost them in the last 2.
And you bring up Stolarz, but Woll had a fantastic game 4.
Yeah.
If you're looking at that, are you encouraged by that, or do you feel like the team kind of let a great goalie game slip away?
I feel both.
That's kind of how it is.
I am encouraged by it because, Joseph Woll, when he came into the series, I was a little nervous watching him. He hadn't played in a while. And, I felt like Stolarz was their better option, and so did the coaching staff. But Joseph Woll has played particularly well in game 4. His game continues to grow in this series. So, yeah, I've been really encouraged by the way he's been playing. But to your point, that was a strong performance in game number 4. They gave up, 4 penalties in the first period, 4 power play opportunities for Florida. One of the areas at the start of the series I was worried about for the Leafs was their penalty killing. And, you just can't do that. The coach, Craig Berube alluded to it afterwards, right? Like, the stick fouls, and you have to be more disciplined. But he gave them every chance to win in that game. That's why it's so frustrating. It's a 1-0 game. Your goalie's keeping you in there. It's a one-shot game. Willie, dump it in. There's no play there.
Well, we saw in the regular season and in the first round, that is the Panthers' bread and butter, winning those 1-goal games, winning the special teams battle. That's exactly what they're doing. Special teams have looked bleak on both ends for the Leafs. Yeah,
and especially like the power play for them, it was really good the second half of the year, that 5 forwards look. And they've had moments like when their power play has been good in the series, but haven't been able to find a way to consistently create offense and score. So, but like, this is the playoffs. This is the defending champs. This is not going to be easy. If it was easy, they would have done it years ago.
Yep.
It's really difficult. Another negative for the Leafs now is Sergei Bobrovsky seems to be playing better than he was playing earlier in the series. But, again, they got the extra day, get back in that tape room and just try to clean up the mistakes. Just understand this is a battle of, it's a mental struggle back and forth the whole game. And the Leafs have been really good. They've been right there with the Florida Panthers. They could easily be winning this series. We're 2-2. Take a deep breath. just try in those moments. I know those guys are great players, right? I know that Nylander, we've seen the magical plays he could make. We've seen the magical plays Marner could make. In those moments, you just can't crack in those moments. You can't cheat for offense in those moments. You have to play it straight up. And that's the area. So for me, that's the area that I would be, if I was Berube, I'd be working with those players and really all the players on my team. Doesn't necessarily mean it's only them. They just happen to be on the ice a lot, and they're such creative players. They try to make things happen. Sometimes these games are as simple as, hey, get to the blue line, get it out, get to the offensive blue line, get the puck in. So I'm really looking forward to Game 5. And, the physical nature of this is ramped up. We had all kinds of different hits and things that went on in Game 4. And Matthew Tkachuk is, getting his, he's threatening and, making faces. And,
on half a leg, like he's barely skating and he's still doing it.
I mean, it's a battle, right now. To me, Sarah, this has been the best of the 4 second-round series, watching them. I mean, by far, we'll see where we go in Game 5. I'll be interested to see how things are in the building and the fans outside, because this team has played well. So we'll see if they can find a way to win back at home. Again, if they win their home games, they win the series. And so far, they've won their home games. So we'll see what happens in Game 5.
And you know what? So often when we talk about the Leafs, we're like, show us in the playoffs. Let's see what you can do in the playoffs. And the regular season's irrelevant. But you have to win the regular season games to have that home ice advantage. True. And that could mean everything at this point. Yeah,
it really could, because, they have found ways to win at home in this series. And, we'll see. I mean, it's really going to be interesting what goes on next. And also, how about, Sarah, the little gamesmanship going on with Craig Berube when asked about hits. Now, Craig, well, I thought that hit on Marner by Kulikov was way worse than the one on Rodriguez. I just this kind of stuff on the off days between coaches when they drop these things in, I just think it's been going on forever, and it's just funny. And Craig is he's been around, so he understands its value, getting it out there in the media, changing the narrative a little bit. Let's look at this hit on Mitch Marner. It's pretty nasty as well. So, we'll see where things go. But it's amped up. There's no question about it.
And the coach chirping, I don't think it's ever been better. Even in round 1 with Maurice and Cooper going back and forth. Yeah. These are like seasoned veteran chirping coaches, and I'm so here for it.
Yeah, and it's just it's very like understated. And not like a John Tortorella shut your yap from years gone by with Ken Hitchcock, but it's just more, just pointing out things. Or I guess the best one was when Coop was just deadpanned early in the playoffs. We only hit players with pucks or something. The way he said it was funny.
Maurice was like, I turn on my TV and he's saying that to me. He's funny.
Yeah, it was very funny.
Yeah. It's like an inside baseball type head games they're doing.
Yes, exactly. And they're trying to, make the league and the referees aware going into the game. Like, we're all human. People say that they don't pay attention to it, but it is out there, and sometimes you do hear it. So they're just trying to win every little battle they can, from their perches behind the bench.
And Maurice was rather calm after Game 4. He had not much to say, except it's only one game. And it reminds me of you saying how close these games are. We are so prone to overreaction when we talk about the Leafs. But he said it himself. He doesn't believe in momentum and trends. Do you agree or disagree with that?
I tend to agree. I mean, especially, when teams are tightly matched, I agree with it. I mean, sometimes, you have one-sided matches, or you have, teams that get really injured, or, there's other variables. But, these two teams have played 4 pretty tight games, and the Florida Panthers have established who they are. They have an identity of what they are and who they're trying to be. And the Toronto Maple Leafs have tried to take a page out of that book, which is, I think, probably smart, to play, a little bit more physical, to play smarter in the neutral zone and the defensive zone. And like I said, in Games 3 and Game 4, Florida had their moments too. But I think, Toronto, too many penalties in Game 4, just too many loose plays in Game 3. They've got to tighten it up. But they are trying to, they're basically trying to do the same thing to each other. And Florida's really good at it. And that's why I thought it was going to be a struggle, and I didn't think Toronto could win the series. But after 4 games, they're right there.
Yeah, yeah. So are you more optimistic on them now after these 4 games?
Yes, I am, because the games, they haven't been blown out, they haven't been pushed around. They've been just as physical, if not more physical, than the Florida Panthers. I think, again, the problem is, that Auston Matthews needs to score. I mean, like, they need to take advantage of opportunities when they get them, and that's really what it's going to come down to at the end of the day. But if Florida plays like they played in Game 4, which is to have a lead and kind of to dictate and to shut down the neutral zone and to win puck battles in the D zone, I mean, they're just going to be really hard to beat. But that's not a surprise. That's who they are.
They're the textbook definition of it's not easy, but it's very simple.
Yeah, you know what? That's a good way to say it, because it is not this is not, brain surgery here, the way the Florida Panthers play. They dump it in more than anybody else in the league. They force you to dump the puck in more than anybody else in the league. They win the puck battles. They change the dynamic in the offensive zone. They just do that hard rim around the offensive zone. They'll rim it back the other way. They change the point of attack. I mean, it's really a pretty straightforward way they play, but they have the personnel to execute it. And, the other night in that game in the first period with all those penalties, I mean, the Panthers had some really good chances they missed. I think Reinhart just got to hit one off the crossbar early on, and Wall made a couple of really nice saves. I mean, the Leafs have to clean that stuff up, because if they don't, they're not going to win. They're not winning.
Are you saying you cannot get 4 penalties in the first period?
Yeah, I'm saying that.
One goal is bound to go in.
Yeah. It's just not good, because, like, the other thing that happens in that situation is, you're putting a lot of pressure on your penalty killers. Your guys that aren't killing penalties aren't playing. And they're not touching they're not in the game, and you're just out of your rhythm and your routine of the game. So it's bad for a number of reasons. Joel Wall was the biggest reason why the Leafs stayed in that game. But, it's disappointing that they didn't take advantage of the really good performance by Wall.
Unfortunate, for sure. Who have been your 3 stars of the series so far, just overall?
Well, I mean, I think, Nylander to me is always, he's dynamic in the playoffs, and, like, he can make some great plays. I do, I still just wish he would have dumped that puck in Game 4, but, he's a great player. He's played very well. I think a lot of the, like the defense, like McCabe has been in the battle. I like the way that his physical nature, he's kind of a lead by example guy from a physical standpoint. So he's another guy that stood out. I mean, and Joseph Wall has come into a really tough situation, Sarah. I mean, like, let's face it, he hadn't played for a couple of weeks. He's thrown right into a game. They win that game. They win the next game at home. I thought he certainly played well enough in Game 4, by a lot to have won that game. He was a little shaky in Game 3, but, so were the Leafs in front of him. So I would say those guys come to mind. And, the Leafs' better players, the Tavares, Marner, those guys, they've been in the battle. They've played well, and then they've gotten contributions from other guys. But it's just, it's not been enough in these last 2 games. And like I said, they'll have that extra day to figure it out. Maybe it'll help them.
Closing out here, how do the Leafs win Game 5?
Well, it'd be great if they could get the lead. I mean, you've seen a couple of these games, right, Sarah? They jumped out. I think 2 of the first 3 games, they had the lead inside the first minute. I thought Game 3, that's one, if they lose the series, boy, that's the one that's going to bite them, because, they had a 2-0 lead. They had a 3-1 lead. I thought they had such a good start to the game. And then it was just those self-inflicted wounds and lost battles that led to Florida opportunities and goals. And then, in overtime, Florida. I mean, a smart play by a veteran player, Brad Marchand, right? It's a long shift. The Toronto Maple Leafs are tired. One of the players lost his stick, right? It was and Marchand, what does he do? He just holds on. He throws it towards the net. It hits Riley, kind of does that little flip up in the air and goes in. I mean, that's the game that I think will bite them, in the end if they don't win the series. But, I just think if they can get a lead, dictate the tempo, keep the Panthers on their heels a little bit, and just be better situationally in the game. If you can have that lead, don't give the Florida Panthers easy chances. Don't turn pucks over in the neutral zone. If they've stacked that blue line, just get the puck behind their defenseman. try to get into Bobrovsky's kitchen a little bit more. Look for some more rebound opportunities. They've got to win more puck battles in the offensive zone to create that offense. So it's all those things that go into the soup for the Toronto Maple Leafs. But I would say the biggest thing is to try to get the lead and play with the discipline in their game that they didn't have.
Yeah.
Certainly in some games in 3 and 4.
Yeah, because like you said, they're right there, and it's really a game-by-game type series when you got such high-end talent. But you got to make the most of the talent. You got to get Auston Matthews on the board. You got to get a power play goal.
I'll be curious when it's all over whether they go all the way to the end or not. To hear exactly what has ailed Auston Matthews this season, going back to when he did not play in November and was off to Germany. And then, he has, like I said, he's been in the battle. He's played hard. He's had opportunities. Even the other night, it was in an empty net situation. Like, he was at center ice and he missed the empty net by like 8 feet. Yeah. Like, this is one of the elite goal scorers to ever play in the NHL. And it's just odd.
Yeah. 4 Nations, too. There were some moments there where you're like, what's going on? And I know we kind of joke about it, even though it's not funny that an elite player is injured to some degree, but it is kind of bizarre that he went to Germany to fix what was ailing him. So we're going to find out at the end of the season.
Well, we say we're going to find out.
Yeah,
Who knows?
Right.
Who knows?
It could be ongoing,
if we're ever going to find out.
We both wish him the best. We all wish him the best. We want to see the elite players of our game have those elite moments.
Yeah, it's so strange, Sarah, because I've been thinking about this a lot lately with, as you point out, to the 4 Nations and to some of these games that he's played so far in the playoffs and in his career, really. Like, this guy, I mean, he scored almost 70 goals last year. He still scored over 30 goals this year in a year where he missed time and he was dealing with different issues. I don't know if I can remember in my career watching the NHL seeing a player that as good as Auston Matthews just get snookered in these big moments where, like, he misses the net. Like, they're talking about he's missed his shot. He's missed the most nets so far in the playoffs with his shot. And, like, just hitting the post. He's a guy that hits the post more than I've ever seen anybody else do it. It's just, and then he gets stopped in big moments. Listen, he's getting all those opportunities. So that's the good news. And like I said, last year, the guy almost scored 70 goals. It's just kind of, I just scratch my head sometimes. Again, a simple play, like he won a puck in the neutral zone. The net was empty. He shot a puck that should have been a simple puck. And even if it would just missed the net, but he missed the net by like 7 or 8 feet. So I don't know. I'm at a loss, but we'll see what happens in Game 5. Maybe he'll get a hat trick, and we'll all be looking like dummies. I don't know.
Well, you kind of get the feeling it's one lucky break that kind of breaks the camel's back, and then he'll get on fire or something. So we'll see if it happens Game 5.
Yeah, we will. But
we want to see it.
They can use it. Yeah. They can use it.
Guys, we'll report back after Game 5. Thanks for having me, EJ, or me having you, us having each other.
All right.
See you Game 5.
Thanks for watching Toronto Sports Rush on the Bet Rivers Network.